When Calls the Heart fans upset Hallmark series did not mention the WW1. In When Calls the Heart Season 12, Hardys may have been surprised at the seriousness of Little Jack's diabetes storyline. Coupled with the lack of local medical care, Elizabeth, Jack, Nathan, and Ellie had to leave their comfortable life in Hope Valley for Cape Fullerton. This is where the little boy's grandmother lives, as well as a top place for diabetes treatment. However, it appears that many Hardys wish that the Hallmark writers would include more serious history in the series. That includes their wish for more acknowledgement of World War, also known as the Great War. Here is what they had to say. Do When Calls the Heart fans want some reality mashed up with their comfort watch? This Hardy certainly does. I understand that this show is historically accuracy light. However, ignoring World War I and replacing it with a Northern Territory squabble or debacle was one of the most disrespectful things ever. They continued with the suggestion, even if you water it down to just newspaper mentions by the characters and not show any action, you can get the message across. To gloss over it like it never happened is very disrespectful. They continue with criticism of the show's co-creator Brian Bird and how they have been ignoring a huge part of history. In addition, they shared their family's contribution to the war, including the infantry ski division. Next, they added, plus given Canada's rich contribution to World War I compared to the Yanks who came in at the 11th hour, it was just such a letdown as they could have shown the world how Canada played a part in it. I am surprised not one of the Canadian actors spoke up. They finished this post with their own frustration with the series. I'm not sure why this is such a delayed reaction, but it has bothered me. I should have quit the show then and there. Ashamed to know the writers value stupid love triangles that bait the viewers rather than telling a small truth of world history. The summation showed frustrations with the series and the overdone Lucas, Elizabeth, and Nathan love triangle that has permanently fractured Hardys. But what was the response to this post about the Hallmark series being disrespectful? Hardys respond to the WW1 post. A Hardy posted a heartfelt missive on her disappointment that the Hallmark series, When Calls the Heart, did not include any reference or even acknowledgement of World War, also known as the Great War. What did other Hardys have to say? This topic certainly garnered some discussion that went both ways about this issue. Some Hardys didn't think including references or a storyline related to WW1 was in Hallmark's wheelhouse, while another fan pointed out two very well-known classic movies that had to do with World War II. All in all, the most confusion was why the When Calls the Heart writers skipped over the Great War and the Spanish flu worldwide epidemic, but decided to embrace the 1920s. But there was no mention of Little Jack's diabetes and the grim mortality realities of that time. Hope Valley, that idyllic little town nestled in the Canadian Rockies, has long been a place where fans of When Calls the Heart could escape the real world and bask in stories of love, resilience, and community. But during a recent episode, something was noticeably missing. At least according to the Hardys, the show's fiercely loyal fan base. It was an episode that aired just days before July 1st, which for Canadians is not just Canada Day, but also the anniversary of the Battle of the Somme, one of the most devastating moments of World War I. And yet, for a show set during the 1910s, a time deeply shaped by the shadow of the Great War, there was not a single mention of World War I. Not a passing reference, not a hushed prayer in church, not even a word from the schoolhouse podium. For many Hardys, it felt like a glaring omission. The missing context. When Calls the Heart has always embraced its historical setting loosely. The creators have emphasized that Hope Valley is more a microcosm of hope and morality than a strict historical reenactment. But fans believe that skipping over World War I entirely is not just an oversight. It's a denial of the very historical pressures that would have defined life during that time. Twitter and Facebook groups lit up after the episode aired. Posts with hashtags like hashtag Hardee's Remember and hashtag WW1 began trending among fan circles. One user at Fintic Hardy wrote, "My grandfather fought at Vimy Ridge." This show is set in the exact time frame. Why does Hallmark pretend it's not happening? Others echoed similar frustrations. "They can't keep pretending Hope Valley is in a bubble," commented a fan in a Hardee's Facebook group with over 25,000 members. It's 1917 in the show's timeline. That's not just some random year. It's smack in the middle
Stanton
of World would never many longtime viewers also pointed out that had Abigail Stanton still been part of the series, her character would never have let such a moment pass unrecognized. As the matriarch of the town and a character who had already suffered deep personal loss, Abigail would have been the first to gather the townsfolk in the saloon for a candlelight vigil, or to offer the schoolchildren a somber lesson about bravery and sacrifice. Creative fans even imagined the episode that should have aired. Scene: the schoolhouse. Elizabeth Thornton stands at the front of the classroom. Her voice quivers slightly. "Today, class, we are going to write letters. Letters to soldiers overseas, men who are fighting in a war that many of us cannot imagine. But they are brave, and they are scared, and they are someone's father, someone's brother." Little Allie raises her hand. "Miss Thornton, do you know any soldiers?" Elizabeth pauses. She smiles wistfully. "Yes, Allie. I did once." Even Lee and Rosemary felt off. Then there's Lee Coulter, whose backstory involves his brother dying in a past war. Fans pointed out that Lee's absence of emotion during this time felt odd. His character, known for his sensitivity beneath the humor, would logically be rattled, reflective, or moved to action by the anniversary of a global conflict. Rosemary, too, would likely be in the church organizing care packages or helping Clara and Minnie prepare a town-wide fundraiser. But in the aired episode, the town was preparing for a pie-eating contest. "It just felt tone-deaf," one viewer said on Reddit. "Like we're having a cherry pie showdown while people are dying in trenches across Europe." A missed opportunity for depth, for a show that thrives on moral lessons. When Calls the Heart missed a rich opportunity to bring historical gravitas to its storyline. Not only could the show have paid tribute to real soldiers, but it could have deepened the character's development. Imagine Nathan Grant wrestling with the idea of enlisting. Lucas Bouchard reading a telegram from France. Even Florence and Ned, the comic relief of the show, could have had a poignant moment, perhaps reminiscing about a cousin who never came home. "Storytelling doesn't suffer from honesty," tweeted a fan who goes by a Canadian candlemaker. "It thrives on it." Hope Valley could have shown hope in wartime, not just hope instead of wartime. What Hallmark says, or doesn't. So far, Hallmark has not officially commented on the omission. While they have praised When Calls the Heart for its timeless values, there's no indication that the network plans to integrate more historical references moving forward. That silence, ironically, is only fanning the flames. Fans have started petitions, asking the writers to at least include a World War I themed episode in the upcoming season. Others are calling for a historical consultant to be added to the team. Still, some defenders of the show argue that not every episode needs to reflect the harsh realities of its time. "There's enough war in the world," one fan wrote in a comment thread. "Let Hope Valley be our escape." But to others, the omission wasn't just about escapism. It was about respect. The Hardys want meaning. If When Calls the Heart is to stay true to its name and its heart, it must recognize the realities that shaped the time period it claims to portray. For Hardee's, the show's strength lies not just in its courtships and festivals, but in its ability to show love and perseverance through hardship, not in spite of it. World War I doesn't need to dominate every storyline. No one's asking for trench warfare scenes or political lectures. But even a small moment, a flag at half-mast, a Sunday prayer, a letter home, could be enough to honor history and enrich the emotional texture of the show. Because at its best, When Calls the Heart isn't just a charming period drama. It's a tapestry of human connection woven with dignity and faith. And faith, especially in 1917, would have been tested by war. It's time for Hope Valley to acknowledge the world outside its peaceful borders, because in doing so, it might just become even more real, more powerful, and yes, more hopeful.